Hey guys, all the way with Alloway here with Destin Cretton, writer and director of Short Term 12. Absolutely love this movie. Saw it at South by, still in my pen. It's a little octopus. Can you get a close-up shot of the octopus?
It's a great pen.
I love it. I stole it from my friend. So when you graduated college, you were looking for work and you actually worked at a facility very similar to the one in the film. So what about working there made you decide to make a film about this?
It wasn't until about 3 years after working there that I think the dust kind of settled in my brain long enough to be able to organize those thoughts, because it was a very life-changing experience for me working there for 2 years. It was kind of the moment in my life that I look back on where I grew up the most, learned the most about the complications of the world and how much the world is not black and white. You know, when it came time to do my thesis project towards the end of my film school, I went back through some of my journals from that time and organized some of those thoughts and questions into the short film.
Right, so you started with the short film. How did it evolve? You know, what about the short film made you want to expand to doing a feature about it? What was that process like as far as being a writer?
Yeah, well, a lot of people say to write a short film in the hopes of turning it into a feature, and I didn't think like that. I just wanted to write a short for the hopes of making a short and finishing it and trying to do a good job. And I wasn't expecting it to go anywhere, but it ended up going and getting into Sundance, and then it won the jury prize at Sundance, and then went to some other really great festivals around the country and in the world. And the response to the short was so surprisingly strong. And I guess the big surprise for me was how universal some of those themes were. Because I initially thought that the movie was very personal and small and about a world that people wouldn't really relate to, but it kind of opened my eyes to the idea of doing a feature. So that was when I began working on the feature, was once I saw that.
Well, I think what's relatable about the film is it's just the flaws in humanity, but all of your characters accept those flaws and they are still hopeful to fight through them. That's what I related to. But actually getting the movie made, this is your second feature after I'm Not a Hipster. So what was that process like?
I had written the draft of Short Term 12 and developed it with Asher Goldstein at Traction
I love
Media.
Asher.
Yeah, he's the best. But we couldn't get funding for it. I was expecting to do Short Term 12 as my first feature, and
interesting. Okay.
And the script won the Nicholl Fellowship through the Academy, which gave me $30,000 to write another screenplay and kind of survive on. So with that, my fellowship year, I wrote I'm Not a Hipster specifically to shoot it in mind and to shoot it for a low amount of money. So I was kind of writing it knowing I've got that location that I can get for free. I know that person who can do that talent, so I'll put him in. And we ended up, because we couldn't get the funding for Short Term 12, I used that money that I got from the Nicholl Fellowship to shoot that movie. I'm Not a Hipster, and we shot it the summer of 2011. And then that premiered at Sundance in 2012. And I think that having a feature under my belt, and it allowed financiers to see kind of how I would tackle and how our team would tackle some of these more emotional scenes. And it gave a better idea of how Short Term 12 might be realized.
Right. Well, and your cast is fantastic. Brie and John, they're amazing. And I'm sure the process casting all the kids was grueling. You said that you did, the normal casting calls, and then you started looking outside of that for these natural performances. So tell me about finding some of the kids that are in the movie.
Yeah, thank goodness we found these kids. They're incredible. I've never worked with such talented, I haven't worked with such talented actors, period, but the kids are just so incredible and so mature and so also just able to be kids and have fun, which was wonderful to have on set. But finding them was really difficult, and it wasn't like, because we didn't have a lot of time, and it wasn't like we had a lot of options. It wasn't. I never felt like we were choosing between a few really, great choices. It was just one perfect person that we had to have.
Right.
And thank God we found them.
Some of these scenes, like, when Brie and Caitlin are bashing in the car, and almost every child and Brie and John have emotional breakdowns. So for you as a director, when you're dealing with this sort of material, you really have to be a nurturer on set. And having experience working in a home like this, how did you handle some of these heavier scenes where you have actors going to fragile places within themselves?
I think a lot of our ability to go to those and shoot those intense scenes, because it was very intense for all of us. For our cameraman who's in the room with Brie as she's having a meltdown, it's pretty traumatic for him too. But I think the set that we created was actually really fun, and when we would yell cut, it turned back into a nice warm family gathering.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
And I interviewed Caitlin during South by, and I asked her obviously about the octopus scene, because it's kind of grounds the film. It's almost like a center that the film revolves around. But she said that you were really great about letting her sort of personalize it and just going, here's the material, make it your own. So, and that scene's really intimate. So what was it actually like shooting that, working with her?
I mean, working with Caitlin is kind of magical. You just put the camera on her and she's perfect.
Like, I didn't do anything.
With some of these scenes, some of those scenes are pivotal for the movie, and I can't say I wasn't terrified to shoot them, because I don't know how they're going to turn out. And it's always, those ones specifically could easily have gone into melodrama or gone too far.
Any advice for writers as far as submitting to festivals or those kind of scholarship programs? What would you say to a screenwriter out there who has something like Short Term 12 that's close to them? Where do they send their baby, their scripts to?
Send it to the Nicholl Fellowship. The Academy Nicholl Fellowship is great. I mean, there's other great places to send your scripts as well. But I just would go online and find out what places that I could send my films or my scripts, and the Nicholl Fellowship was one of those places, and I got lucky. It was, but there's another fellow who was there who just won this year, and I think he submitted 20 times or something, and finally won this year. But it doesn't cost a lot of money, and it's just if anything, it's great motivation to finish another draft.
Right? Writers need those deadlines.
Yeah.
Seriously. Well, congrats on the film. It's gorgeous. And it comes out, does it come out?
Yeah, August 23rd.
August 23rd.
Yeah.
August 23rd. Short Term 12.
We're opening August 23rd in New York and LA. And you can see all the theaters at shortterm12.com.
Shortterm12.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you.